Hey, yo, what it do, what it do? It's your boy Q, and it's about that time we get down and do what it do. I'm like 2 or 3 days late. I would say I apologize, but I'm not really sorry. No, we're probably gonna have to start going to more of the instead of doing the 2 a week podcast here, y'all. I'm probably gonna have to start doing it once a week. Probably gonna have to start doing it midweek, maybe even the end of the week, kind of like we're doing here. It's TEC's first week back. If we have anybody in here who's unfamiliar with what TEC is, TEC is the high school / middle school league that I work with here in my home state. We kicked off our new semester, and I'm working across multiple titles: Valorant, Overwatch, Rocket League. Also doing some of their extra content recording and stuff like that. So it's keeping me pretty busy. Also, of course, on top of that, we have some other things going on. We're still working the bubble scene. I'm still working the Mid-Atlantic Esports Conference as well. So we are still should be good to be doing these like once a week still. I do believe. I just can't guarantee a specific day. All right. So I appreciate y'all's patience for this, man. But we got a stacked sheet this week, man. We got a bunch of topics I do want to talk about. Vatira has now Vatira has now played 24 straight Sundays, and his current team just might be the best one yet. We've got VCT teams punching their tickets to Madrid, which also means we got some teams we got to add to Fraud Watch. And we got ALGS kicking off this weekend as well, although we may save more of that, or more of that for next week, just because we got a lot going on this week. I'll probably touch on it just very briefly today, but let's go ahead and get down to it, man. Let's actually get started off as far as with kickoff, if you guys don't mind. I know normally we kind of start off with Rocket League and things like that, but I do kind of want to talk as far as with VCT, just because we're already starting to see people getting their tickets punched for the first LAN. The ones that we know for sure already is in the Pacific region. We got PaperX and Gen G are going to be going to Madrid. But I think the really surprising thing here was that Gen G won. So I predicted them being the number 4 seed, right? I would have expected that if they were to have won and get in the grand finals, especially with the way that the Final Four worked out, I would have expected it to be because they were playing T1, not DRX. But they rolled DRX. Well, I shouldn't say they rolled DRX. It was a really close series. And then in their series against PaperX, you had a couple maps that were very much in Gen G's favor. I feel like the big thing that was kind of a surprise for me on the side of Gen G is there were definitely some rounds that felt like they shouldn't have been winning. You wonder how long they can kind of keep up with like the clutch plays, whether it's like a triple kill to turn a 5v3 into like a 2v2 sort of scenario after the trade, or, just being able to clutch up like in 1v3 situations. But Gen G looked amazing, man. I feel like Pacific kind of gave us a preview of what is to be expected in the rest of VCT, which is just the fact that it's wide open right now. DRX is still good. They're not as great as they used to be. PaperX, you could even say the same thing, obviously. You've had some roster changes in both of those cases, but I feel like behind them is absolutely wide open. Team Secret looked good, even though they did not make it out through the play-in. They went 1-1. I feel like Zeta at times looked decent. I'm not going to give up hope on global esports. I still feel like at times they kind of showed us what their potential could be. Even RRQ, who I think everyone could say at this point had the toughest bracket, obviously, since both Group C teams are going to Madrid. But even for them, only being at a 10-round differential in their 2 matchups, both of them going 2-1 with Gen G, the team who ended up winning the whole thing. I feel like in the Pacific region, it's going to be tough. Obviously, we aren't going to get to watch too much of it. Pacific's just a hard region to watch as far as with my schedule. What we might do, and let me know if you guys like this idea, especially over on YouTube. Let me know in the comments. I'm wondering if maybe for some of our weekday streams, we can kind of do some VOD review on Pacific heading into EMEA potentially. That might be something we can kind of keep an eye out for. Also, it's not going to be watching all of EMEA either. I think I'm only going to kind of pick and choose my matchups, again, just because the schedule's like super busy right now. But I do definitely feel like I haven't gotten enough opportunity to watch as much VCT live as I would like. I've definitely had to do a lot more of like the VOD reviewing, kind of catching up through it. But Pacific looked really good. I'll tell you what region I'm really happy that I have gotten to watch as far as the kickoffs. It is Americas though, man. Like especially Group B. every game has been a classic. We actually talked about it over on the Meltdown podcast with my brother from another Mama Llama over with Frost Esports. We were starting a new podcast over there. But Group B, man, almost every matchup was like an instant banger, man. Like you're talking, I mean, even the Loud Sentinels sweep, they were some close matchups, 13-11, 13-9. But the Leviathan 100 Thieves game was great. The Loud Leviathan game was great. Even the elimination match, which was the Sen 100 Thieves game, which I think was probably most people were expecting to be like the lowest competition in Group B, was still a banger. I mean, MIBR looking surprising. I don't know if when we talk about in the decider match, MIBR taking down Cloud9 is more talking about MIBR and the positives that they see versus Cloud9 and them officially being on Fraud Watch. I do think we have to add them to the Fraud Watch, Cloud9 for sure, especially depending on how the start of the season works out. I mean, and it's tough too because now you got teams like Cloud9, Leviathan, 100 Thieves. I mean, big like organizations and big fan bases that want to watch their players play, and now they got to wait till what, like April, middle of April, something like that. We got to do something about the VCT like layout of how things are going. I actually have EMEA right now up on my other screen as far as the Final Four games because they're doing the playoffs today. Right now, Heretics catching NAVI. Bro, NAVI on Fraud Watch 2. I told you guys, that fraud artist. That boy artist is just... Ooh. No, I'm just kidding. But Team Heretics is looking amazing, y'all. I mean, Team Heretics 2-0'd Carmine Corp. They 2-0'd Foot, who I think a lot of people were expecting, even if they didn't have them above NAVI. I think Foot was in a lot of people's like top 3 or 4 for the region. Heretics looking amazing. And a lot of it is off the fact of Boo and Mini Boo. I'm actually watching it now with Mini Boo popping off a little bit here. But, I mean, they are up 8-2 right now. Up 1 map to nothing. This squad just might be rolling. That's kind of crazy thing. I think they might also have a player out with COVID. Looks like playing remotely because there's a player PC that's empty. But, I mean, EMEA's been looking good. I do still think Fnatic's still ahead above the rest, although maybe we're proven wrong. When would they be playing against Team Heretics? Is that tomorrow? Ooh, tomorrow at 11. I might have to have that up on my side monitor while I'm working SSA, man. That's going to be a really good game. But Team Heretics looking good. I think VCT this year is going to be amazing across the board. We're talking about all 3 regions being great. Again, I still haven't really gotten a chance to check out China. I do apologize. I'll try and see if I can do some research to at least kind of give you all some updates on some teams to look out for. But we might even still have to wait on that until like closer to like Madrid. See if I can kind of find some videos, do a little bit of research. I've already got enough VODs and stuff that I'm watching as is, you know what I mean? But for Valorant, so we've still got Americas still has their playoffs, which is this weekend. I think it's Saturday, Sunday. And then I think Mondays is the final, or Saturday is the 2 games. Evil Genius isn't allowed. And then Sunday is the grand final. So we might pop live for a couple of those, depending on it. I mean, I should be done with SSA even before the earlier game, 5 o'clock. Yeah, we should be able to do that on Saturday as well. I might pop live for those. Keep an eye out in the Discord, you know. Or, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, turn those notifications on because we do pop live over here as well as on Twitch when we do our watch parties. But I think I'm going to try and watch as much VCT as Americas as I can this year. It's just sometimes tough because the games go really, really late. It's like more than likely I'm going to be catching like the first matchups probably. Because those games that start at 8, dog, I wake up at 3 a.m. I just don't, like, I can't be doing that. You know what I'm saying? Again, though, that might be one of those things that we like do some VOD reviews during the days. I feel like that might be something we might just more start doing during the weekdays, is like VOD reviewing stuff that we didn't get to catch live and kind of do that during the day. Coffee with Q. I don't know. Thoughts? Let me know. Oh my gosh. Heretics about to go up 9-2? That's crazy, bro. Who would have thought Heretics might actually have a chance to qualify for Masters? It's another surprise, man. Trying to think as far as for VCT. if there is anything that I was wanting to kind of talk about before we move on to RLCS. I don't think there was. I feel like RLCS is really where we have more to talk about. We'll have quite a bit of results, obviously, to go over for VCT next weekend. But for now, I mean, we still don't know who's qualified other than in Pacific. And we kind of briefly touched on that. I mean, Gen G just kind of came out of nowhere. Karen for Gen G played out of their mind pretty well the entire tournament. So it should be good. Bro, did you guys watch RLCS this past weekend, though, for EU? EU Championship weekend is always so fun to watch. If you ain't watching it, you need to get with it. I know a lot of the people who kind of watch our channel, as well as, you know, do like the podcast stuff right now, is a lot of NA base. But man, y'all got to check out the EU. Again, I keep wanting to call them regionals. We were talking about this over on the Meltdown. Are we calling them qualifiers now? I think we're calling them qualifiers. Just simply that, right? But Carmine Corp, for one, looks phenomenal. BDS, though, took them the distance in a banger of a series in Game 7, went overtime in Game number 7 as well. So let's just start there in the fact that as good as Carmine Corp looks, we have seen the fact in the course of Qualifier 2 that they have the potential to lose. They lost during double eliminations, so the first weekend. And they've lost, you know, at times they've lost a couple series or a couple of games, you know, gotten close to losing series. BDS also pushed them the distance last regional. What was that, 6 games, I think it was, in qualifier number 1. It definitely feels like BDS is the closest. I think the big thing that's interesting when we look at, let's go to the rankings real quick. For EU right now, look at the fact that Vitality sitting in 5th, technically tied for 4th. But for Vitality, if they happen to cross paths with BDS early, or not BDS, Carmine Corp, although BDS could also potentially, with the way that they're looking, also take them down. So Team Vitality has got to find a way to at least secure a top 4 in this next qualifier to guarantee themselves moving on. Even then, I don't know if it's necessarily guaranteed. I don't know who owns the tiebreaker between Magnifico and Vitality. Like, say if they were both to finish top 4, right? Since they are tied. Especially if they finish top 4 with like a Gentlemates who's sitting ahead of them, right, at 18 points instead of 15. But Team Vitality went a perfect split during the spring split to end last year. And it's not that they look bad, it's just they haven't been able. There have been some big games that they've needed to cooperate on, or there have been some big games that they need to produce on that they just haven't been able to do so. It looks like my internet might be out here for a second, so let's go ahead and see if I can pop this extended list open, but I think it's going to sit trying to spin. But Vitality had to cross against Carmine Corp, I think, during... What was it, during qualifiers as well in this last one? Let's go back to Europe here for split 2. Yeah, in round 2 of qualifiers, or in round 2 of Swiss, and then SA also took a set off them as well. And if you even kind of look at the teams that they beat, I mean, they kind of had an easier road on the 3 games that they did win. But I mean, Carmine Corp was able to hold Zen without a goal, which like that's, I think that's the first time it ever happened. Zen, a player that's like always known to pop off and has this big potential, got held to 0 goals. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying right now? This team from Vitality that went undefeated just about, well, maybe undefeated isn't the best word because they did drop like a couple of games, but they weren't losing series and they definitely weren't losing when it mattered. They had a perfect spring split. They won all 3 regionals and then they won the majors, right? And then they haven't even gotten into the grand finals yet. They lost to Gentlemates in qualifier number 1 in the semifinals, and then they lost to Carmine Corp in top 8. So the fact that they're sitting where they're at is kind of due to the fact that there's some mayhem back behind that BDS team in the rankings, right? Like there's Carmine Corp, who's, dare I say, the best team in the world right now. And I don't think that's a really big like leap to say, but I do still feel like there's some time to tell, especially because BDS has looked to have their number, or at least almost have their number a couple of times. So BDS is pretty close with Carmine Corp, but then it feels like behind them's pretty wide open right now when we look at the rest of EU, which is crazy to think after the run that Vitality had. I don't know if this is like a sophomore slump potentially for Zen. Again, 0 goals against Carmine Corp. That's wild, bro. And I know like part of that is obviously how good Carmine Corp is. I'm sure with the fact that Farah being the coach now for Carmine Corp probably has the ability to game plan for Zen, since he was game planning, with Zen on his team last year. But hopefully they can get things figured out, because I don't think it would be a very good look for Vitality to miss land number 1 this split after doing what they did last year. They at least should be at the major and be able to try and defend like their title, IMO. You know what I mean? I'm not sure what you guys think. Definitely feel free to let me know down those comments below. But it feels like, especially with the dominance that we saw from them last year, and the fact that all that's changed has been, 1, their coach, and 2, the big old elephant in the room, which is, the whole way everything is set up with the bracket and everything, right? And like, I think a lot of people can agree that it's not the best method. The format isn't, there's been a bunch of talks surrounding the format, all season long, basically, even before the season started. Wow, Team Heretic's now up to round 11. That's crazy. I wonder if maybe Team Vitality missing the major for the first major after going and having the perfect split to end last season, I wonder if that would be enough to get everyone to kind of reconsider the stance on the format, right? And I'm not talking about the general public or the players. I feel like everyone's kind of on the same page, but I'm talking about those decision makers at the top, because I think we can all agree that it's best for business, that if the best teams, or at least some of the biggest brands that are performing still at the highest level, are at least making it to land, it creates the best environment, gets more eyes on the product, so on and so forth, right? I don't know, man. I'm definitely excited to kind of see how the rest of this split plays out. I can't help but wonder if we do see some changes even towards the top on some rosters in EU. I'm not looking quite at a Vitality, but I am wondering, I guess Oxygen made some moves, right? Because you feel like you probably don't bring up Archie and Ixo just quite yet. Your third you just recently picked up. Maybe not so much in EU. I am kind of worried that in NA we're going to be seeing some roster changes, just because the gap is so different in NA. Because you have G2, who's very much at the top. We can argue Gen G's at 2. I don't think that's an unfair argument to say, right? When we talk about on the NA side of things, we do got to have to remember that when we look at the rankings over in North America, we've got to remember Luminosity has beat Gen G, I think, twice during the 2 qualifiers, at least the one time. But it does feel like in North America that it is very much the 3 at the top, G2, Gen G, Luminosity. And the question now looming going into qualifier number 3, which we have Swiss brackets starting up here in about 24 hours. Still haven't done my pickups, by the way. Love you guys. Is the battle for 4th. You have one spot and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams within 2 points between NRG, Space Station Gaming, Pirates on a Boat, OG, M80, and Dignitas. And even you can include TSM right behind Shopify by an additional point. I believe that means Dignitas should be comfortable with a top 4 finish. I think even if they secure top 8, unless a team like M80 were to go on and win everything, then they would drop their spot. But they'd be feeling pretty good with qualifying on based on just making Sunday. Or not making Sunday. Yeah, by making Sunday top 4. Not even Sunday, Saturday, for making it past Swiss. Who would I like to see in North America? That's actually a really good question, right? Because I feel like, again, the top 3 spots pretty well secured. We're going to be seeing G2, Gen G, Luminosity. Oh, man. I think it's probably going to come down to either M80 or Pirates on a Boat, realistically. Space Station Gaming might sneak in there, but I really think it's between M80 and Pirates on a Boat. This Pirates on a Boat squad is nice, man. We've been talking about them quite a bit over on the Meltdown podcast with Frost. I'll try and leave a description down in the comments, or maybe at least down in the description. But with the pickup of 5-up, man, you've got Andy, Eris. This squad has the hunger, the passion, but it's also got like a nice little blend of experience as well as like the fresh blood. And I think Pirates on a Boat are one of those teams. We've been seeing them getting a little bit better. It feels like, even though they technically finished 5th through 8th in both of them. They did play G2 last time in the top 8 round, so take that for what it is. But I think this Pirates on a Boat team, and I hate to say that, like, all they need is time, because we've talked about, trying to find that balance between letting it cook and having to try and find success with another 3. But I think this 3 for Pirates on a Boat, they do need to let this cook a little bit. I wouldn't even worry about making any moves during the time in between, during the trade window, right? I just don't see, unless some crazy big name were to come up, but then even still, I don't know if you're going to be in the running to pick that player up. You know what I mean? As far as for Pirates on a Boat. I think this Pirates on a Boat squad, though, I think that's probably who I'd be most looking out for to slide into that 4th spot. Dignitas, who's currently sitting in there, who's been doing pretty decent. They had a really good start. They made it to the semifinals and played G2 and split number 1. Unfortunately, they didn't even make Saturday. They didn't make it out of Swiss. So that's kind of why we're in this predicament. If they would have been able to make it to another top 4, I think our top 4 would already not be locked, obviously, with the new format. But if they were all to make it to this weekend, which they have, I believe our top 4 would have pretty well been secured. So kind of happy that didn't happen. But even when you look around going into our last weekend and some of our other regions, I mean, OCE is probably my favorite as far as the closest to keep an eye out for. They get 2 spots. In that 2nd spot, you have 5 teams within 3 points. 3 teams tied at 21 between Chiefs Esports Clubs, Gremlin, and the Quick Trip Pioneers. Actually, you know what? Let's look at how that bracket. Well, I guess they probably only done. Let's see what their Swiss. Do they have their first Swiss matchups for qualifier 3 put up yet? Ooh, and Quick Trip Pioneers and Gremlins actually start off against one another in Swiss. That'll be interesting. That could be a really big momentum swinger for either of those 2 teams, whoever wins there. Also, breaking news, chat, coming on in. Team Heretics qualified for Madrid. 2-0 Navi. The fraud artist is on fraud watch. Anyways, back to RLCS. Now I'm thinking about this thing. I'm sorry, chat. Man, that's cool for Team Heretics, man. The brothers at it. But yeah, OCE is cool, man. In APAC, you literally have 2 teams tied for the 1 spot between Elevate and Gaiman Gladiators. So it's going to depend on who goes further. MENA technically started today. Let's see if I've got how the Swiss is progressing thus far. Team Falcons and Twisted Minds are the first teams through on Swiss. And it looks like Rule 1 lost 3-1 to Falcons. Rule 1 seems to be able to beat everybody in MENA but Falcons, man. I think Falcons are just going to be the top squad. I believe Rule 1, if they just get past today, I think they qualify. Let's look at these points real quick. 27-18. If they haven't already qualified, I do believe it's once they get past today. Yeah, they haven't officially put on there. So once they get past today and they're qualified for top 8, they're locked in that number 2 spot. South America should also be pretty good. You've got Furia and Complexity. Definitely feel like they're sitting at the top between the 2. But Ninjas and Pajamas, if they realistically have to win the event. Because it feels like whoever between Furia and Complexity doesn't make it to the semi or to the finals is probably still making it to semis. So as far as for Ninjas and Pajamas, if they want to win South America or get their spot out of South America, I think they've got to win qualifier number 2. Obviously, the math's different than that. Their qualifying number is different because it still also depends on Furia and Complexity. But based off of how they've been doing, I think Ninjas and Pajamas is going to have to win it all. Which is going to be a very, very tall ask of the squad. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think about what else as far as RLCS, man. Honestly, RLCS is going to be really fun. I feel like for RLCS, if we look at how tight of a race there is, usually at least for the 1 spot in every region, I think this is kind of what... I think this is kind of what the people who made the format want for the viewer. Is the 1 spot still wide open in pretty well every region except MENA. And SSA, I guess you could say. So I feel like job well done. I also get like the whole process of, or the whole thought process of like, oh, well, it's not fair to the players. It doesn't have consistency. But since when is esports about being fair to the players? Can I ask that? Like, even when we look at other like esports league, Apex with their match point, is that fair? Is that the most balanced thing? Or is it about delivering the best product to try and grow your brand? And the fact that now, if Vitality isn't on their stuff, they're not going to automatically be on the opposite side of bracket from Carmine Corp, which more than likely guarantees them, a spot in the major, and now they have to work for it. I think as a viewer, that's exciting. I don't know about you guys. Definitely feel free to let me know down in the comments, but I feel like the format is delivering on its promise of having some high anticipated matchups the last qualifier. And it's literally in every region. Maybe not quite as heavy in EU, just because like the French domination is real up at the top. But I don't know, man. You guys let me know what y'all think. I definitely feel like for as much as we saw all the complaints about the changes to the format, and as much as I understand and sympathize with the players, I think we're getting a better product out of it. Because you really don't know who you're getting when. And that leads to fun matchups. Personally. But ALGS starting back up this weekend. It's going to be the last weekend in Asia Pacific. And then it's the second to last. Well, so it's the last week in Asia Pacific and APAC for the regular season. Then next weekend in APAC North and APAC South is going to be the regional final, which is match point format, and whoever wins that day automatically qualifies for LAN, right? So when we look at APAC North, which I do believe is the one that starts first on Friday into Saturday, we've got Group A versus Group C and Group B versus Group C. Actually, let's go ahead and switch this over so we can just take a quick look at it. So Group C is the one with the doubleheader. So that's going to be teams like Pulverex, Fnatic. Ooh, we get to see Fnatic on the back-to-back with the new patch, huh? That should be really, really fun. Solil Gaming, those are probably the big ones to look out for as far as from there. But the first lobby, they'll be in the lobby with teams like Northeption, Reject, Winity, Riddle Order, your top three, a couple of your top teams there. I'm excited to see, man. We got ALGS back. Group A is our Group C is going to be the doubleheader over in APAC South, which will be Saturday into Sunday. So Group C over at APAC South is teams like Tom Young Kung, Wonton Dumpling, XNY, MDY White. So those are the teams. So those are a couple of teams that will be back-to-backing. We get to see Legends Gaming in the first lobby. My boys. We've been seeing Akuma doing pretty good. Going to be interested to see if Lightning Unicorn might be able to bounce back. This is kind of how standings are looking in APAC South. I know we didn't really get a chance to look at them in APAC North. We'll go back to them in a second. But in APAC South, Legends Gaming sitting up at the top with 84 points. Wonton Dumpling in second with 74. Boogie Borders with 73. Heroes, Serenity, Outside, Team Burger, and XNY. XNY sitting at 61 points. Is worth noting that Tom Young Kung sitting in at the 9th spot. Is one of the doubleheader teams this weekend. And just needs to have a decent little weekend. Looks like they should be able to slide their way up into that top 8, depending on how some of the other teams around them do. Dreamfire going to be depending on either a really big day on their one lobby, or they are going to be needing a regional finals win in order to qualify for LAN, more than likely. Of course, the post-match or the post-series placement points still get handed out during the regional, so it is still technically one more lobby. So yeah, I don't know who. It feels like, let's actually look at who's at risk of relegation. DNZ, Full Engage, White Flash, God Hand, Final Start, Kill Devil. So quite a few of our PLQ teams in APAC South. Over in APAC North, we've got Fnatic, who's in first place, quite potentially the best team in the world. Looking dominant, 97 points through 4 lobbies played. So they've got the doubleheader this weekend in APAC North, and they're already in the lead. They're at the top. They're number 1, 97 points, which is kind of crazy to think about. That means they've got 3 first place finishes in a second on the season so far, which is insane. Reject Wenity in second, Riddle Order, Kinotrope Gaming, Crazy Raccoon, HAO, Satucci Sparks, and Enter Force 36. You've got teams. I don't know if you've got any teams that are like your 4 lobbies played teams that are close enough to top 8 that can make the difference with the doubleheader with still playing average. You do have teams like Pulverex, though, who are 11 points off the mark, who do have the doubleheader. So if they were to kind of step things up this weekend, they can still find themselves in that top 8. EMEA has 2 weeks left, and they'll be having matches on Saturday and Sunday. Just like NA, we'll probably not be able to watch EMEA we'll probably not be able to watch EMEA either day this week. We'll probably have to VOD review that. Maybe we'll do that early next week, potentially. Just with SSA casting and then probably keeping an eye on the last round of qualifiers all the way around on Championship Sunday. We'll watch NA, though. But over in EU, we've got Aurora sitting in the #1 spot with 71 points. Element 6, 07, Cybercats, Orglis and Hungry, ANC Outplayed, 2 Rats, 1 Controller, and Passion. However, right behind them, Made in Heaven at 44 points. They've only had 3 match days as opposed to the 4 of quite a few of those teams up above them. So, Alliance, a team to be looking for down the home stretch in EMEA, currently sitting in 11th. Also, Team Portugal, previously known as Vamos Correr, and at 15th. I think those are probably my 2 teams in EMEA to watch out for. I just realized we didn't do APAC. Let's go back and do that real quick. I think the big one to be watching out for in APAC North is Pulverex going into their back-to-back, right? Because they are sitting a little bit off the mark, but because of their back-to-back, I think that we can still find them in that top 8 heading into the regional finals. Over in APAC South, we talked about Tom Young Kung. We'll also be watching Dreamfire sitting down at that 52 points. Sorry, so they're sitting about 7 points off the mark. Those are probably the 2 that are just outside the mark that I'm going to be keeping an eye out for. I'm also going to be keeping an eye out on Team Burger themselves. They're just at that qualifier mark, and they only have 1 lobby. Now, there's a few teams that are right behind them that have 2. They got to make sure that they can really capitalize on the 6 games that they have this weekend. So those are kind of my few teams watching out for in those region. Over in NA, the teams I'm going to be looking out for this go around, one's going to be Optic, man. We saw how good that they were during Champs last year. Currently sitting on the outside, looking in. They do have a doubleheader this weekend, though. All right, so they don't have a doubleheader this weekend, but they still have 3. They still have an extra session on quite a few of the people that are sitting at the top of the leaderboard. So, I think Optic is the one I'll be looking for coming down the home stretch, and honestly, even Native Gaming. They made some changes. I would love to see them still make some moves. And Legacy. I feel like Legacy with where they're sitting at 36. The old LG boys. Feels like they're probably sitting in a good spot for them to still be able to secure things up, which does mean one of these teams is going to have to fall through. Elevate Gaming in a good spot with 46, with only having 3 days, even with the complexity at 41. Feels like realistically the one that's most likely going to be dropping out of the top 12 is Drop In Gaming, one of our PLQ teams. But y'all already know we're going to be trying to watch as much as we can as far as ALGS, but kind of same sort of deal, man. I'm going to kind of watch what I can on the watch parties. Got to still make sure we're getting our casting schedule in. And I'm not going to lie, man, there's going to be times where I just don't want to be in front of the lights after busy weekends. Like this weekend, we got SSA casting for RLCS. So we might be a little light on watch parties. I'm not 1,000% sure. Definitely make sure you're checking out the Discord down in the description below if you're watching this thing over on YouTube. Also, if you're watching this thing over on YouTube, I know we're getting close to that. We're probably just past that 35-minute mark-ish. If you guys have been enjoying the content, man, been really enjoying the podcast, do me a favor, hit that like button, turn those notifications on. We're doing a lot of other esports content. I know this last week was a little light. Things are going to be a little bit light for the next couple of weeks while we kind of wrap up for this, like the last bit of the semester, while we wrap up esports for high school and collegiate. But we're definitely going to start trying to focus a little bit better as far as on that content for you guys, all right? I really appreciate y'all. So we've got ALGS back this week. VCT, we still got some more people punching their tickets to Madrid. We'll definitely be catching up on the rest of those next week, all right? We already know that Heretics is going from EMEA. Now we just have to find out over on the side of EMEA whether it's going to be Fnatic or Carmine Corp. Imagine Carmine Corp wins and both Navi and Fnatic don't go to Madrid. That would be wild. I don't think it happens. I really don't. But just imagine. That'd be kind of crazy. Also, chat, I'm curious. Do I have any other 2K heads? Whether in chat right now live, or whether you're all listening back, whether it be on the podcast platforms, whether you're watching this on YouTube. If we have any other 2K heads, let me know. 2K has become like my guilty pleasure to watch as far as an esport. It tipped off yesterday. Definitely gonna be watching quite a bit of that. We might pop some watch parties for that too, man, because I have a lot of fun watching it. we might pop up like the command center, like the alternate views, and just like shoutcast some stuff and try and get some footage to send to the people over at 2K League, since it's hard to really get like a chance to cast tournaments or anything. So there's not like a lot of them that do like broadcast. So if that's something that you're into, let me know. We'll definitely try and check it out. But that started up pretty cool. I know my homie Llama's excited because League of Legends has started up. Great time to be alive for some esports, man. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I think we're going to have a shorter podcast episode this week. I don't really know if I've got much else for you guys. To be honest, apparently when I shut down my PC once while I had my notepad for my podcast notes, it didn't save up to date with everything that I had written down. I feel like I had an extra topic or two I wanted to talk about, but I know we're right around that 40-minute mark, and I do really want to try and get to these podcasts right around the hour. I would like it to be something that's good for, splitting up on like, lunch and then drives or something like that. I don't think I could cover as much of esports as I would like to in 30 minutes. So I feel like an hour is kind of a good marker to get to. So I do apologize for end up winding up a little bit short of that here today. But man, it's been a busy, busy week. Like I said, I mean, honestly, yesterday, bro, I had what? So we recorded some content for TEC at 10. I had the podcast for Frost at noon. Then I had Overwatch casting. I had sound check at 2:45. That ran till about 6. Then I had sound check for the Mid-Atlantic Esports Conference at 7:45. So, pretty busy boy. This week's all been busy, man. I've been busy over at TEC every day as far as casting. It's going to be like that for the next few weeks. If we have anybody from TEC tune in, appreciate you guys. Let me know in the comments. So I'm going to try and bring what I can as far as content-wise, but don't be surprised if we're just a little bit less active, all right? As far as videos, we're still going to be active over on, if you want to follow your boy on Twitter, do so there. I'm going to try. I really need to get more active on Instagram. One, posting reels, but also just like photos and stuff like that and being more active over there. So hook your boy up over there. Basically anywhere you can think of at YoBoyCue, YoBoyCue. At minimum, we'll probably at least be watching stuff in Discord if we don't pop live for watch parties. All right? Till we catch y'all back over here for the next one. Don't forget, with everything crazy going on in the world today, be true, be you, be sincere, game hard and love hard. All right, y'all? It's your boy Q, signing out. Oh, wait, before I get out of here, we're chasing down 500 subs over on YouTube. We're closing in on it. Help your boy out. We're almost at 450, which puts us 50 away. Tell somebody about it. All right? Love you guys. We're out of here. Peace. Catch y'all next time.